Today's show is brought to you by Quip. Quip is oral care designed for a modern lifestyle. Develops to do the basics better. Delivered fresh every 3 months for only $5. For you, the listeners of The Real Deal with Damian Adams, Quip is offering an opportunity to save $10 off refills at tryquip.com/therealdeal. Again, that's tryquip.com/therealdeal. tryquip.com/THEREALDEAL.
Thank you for listening to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. This is Real Sports Talk for the Real Sports Fan, and I definitely appreciate all you Real Sports fans who are listening right now. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you. I really appreciate you. Please let all your friends know about the podcast. If you love it, let them know about it. If you have your criticisms, let me know about it. That's how I get great. I want to be great at this. Give me a constructive criticism, and I'll take it in. But be constructive. I am a gentle soul. But if you love the show, don't be constructive. Go ahead and let us know how you really feel. Just go all out. And leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. That 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. That 5-star rating will definitely be appreciated. If you're listening on the 3-Point Conversion station on Spreaker Radio, thank you. I appreciate you as well. It's where fans' opinions matter. So we want to know what you think. Good or bad. Good or ugly. Pretty or ugly, I mean. Let us know. We really appreciate and value your opinion here at the 3-Point Conversion station and at 3pointconversion.com. Make sure you check it out for your sports needs. It has everything. When I say everything, I mean everything. They cover basketball, football, hockey, soccer, hopscotch, spades, Uno, everything. 3pointconversion.com. Now, I'm very excited about today's show. It's an intimate session. It's just me and you, just me and you. I'm not going to hit y'all with too much of the singing because, you know, my real talent is talking sports. I don't want y'all to get distracted by the fact that I can sing too. You know, I don't want y'all to be like, man, this dude need to sign a contract and get me off course. But it's just me and you today. And I'm excited because this episode is called All of the Lights. And the reason this episode is named All of the Lights is because we're talking about that time during the year in football. Today's a show about football where it's about handling the bright lights. Can you handle it when everybody's watching? Not just football fans who are serious like myself and the people listening to this show, but can you handle it when grandma's watching? When mama who doesn't like sports at all is watching? Can you handle those moments when it's somebody's first time seeing you because it's on a national stage? Or do you get nervous and crumble? There's a lot of people who get nervous and crumble in those moments where the lights get bright. They start eating chicken bones and swallowing them and choking on them. Because those lights get bright, booties get tight. Or here's, when that booty gets tight, mistakes happen. Can you handle the bright lights? And I'm not the biggest college football fan, but of course you got to watch the college football playoff, and it shows you why people fall in love with the sport. When you see somebody come back from being down 31-14 at half, or 31-17, at halftime, talking about Georgia against Oklahoma in the first playoff game, you knew they can handle the bright lights. Did Oklahoma's defense choke? Did the coaching staff get a little lemon booty, as Bomani Jones would say? Did they get tight and couldn't handle the bright lights and got too tight at the end where they weren't aggressive? And this doesn't just happen to college kids. It happens to professionals as well. We'll get into Kansas City over there swallowing chicken bones. And it just amazes me how these college kids can handle the bright lights like that. Talk about Georgia, the freshman quarterback coming back from that type of deficit to make it to the national championship game. And then in the national championship game, you have Alabama go to a freshman who hadn't played meaningful minutes all year. In the second half of the national championship game, bring him in. The fact that the coach has the confidence to bring him in shows you how good this guy is and how he's been balling out in practice and whatnot. And I can't pronounce his name, but you know who I'm talking about. The freshman Hawaiian quarterback. And for him to come in, he had a few freshman mistakes. You expect that. But right after a mistake, he'll come back and throw a needle or throw a bomb. For him to be able to handle the bright lights like that is phenomenal. And like I said, there's some pros who can't do that. And he's a small quarterback. Hopefully he can develop enough to where he can get into the league and make some money off his talent. But he's got a few years. We'll see. But that brings me to my first topic. So you saw Nick Saban have the guts to go to his freshman quarterback there. And he's one of the few people in the country who has the gravitas or the record to be able to make that move without getting questioned. Some people may have made a face or raised an eyebrow when Saban brought in the freshman, but nobody truly was like, what is Saban doing? He's on that Belichick level where you don't question their moves. Even if they make mistakes, you're like, okay, it happens, but he's going to be right most of the time. And with Saban making that move to the freshman, which proved to be absolutely correct, has he done enough in college football now where it's time for him to move on to the pros? Has he done enough where you're like, man, what more can I do? Now, if I was Nick Saban, I would want to go to the pros and prove that I can coach with the best of the best. Because now in college, you won 1 championship at LSU, you won 5 now at Alabama. What more can you do? Now, I understand it's a cushy life at Alabama right now. You got all these recruits coming in. You got a freshman quarterback that's going to be there for 2 more years at least, that you know is a beast. You're always going to have defensive talent, and people will want to come there. So you're going to have a great team going forward. You know that. But as a competitor, you know that your stint in the pros wasn't good at all. He left LSU, which I'm still mad about as an LSU fan. Left LSU, went to Miami. They passed on Drew Brees, which could have made all the difference in the world. You pass on Drew Brees, you get Dante Culpepper, and things don't go well. As a competitor myself, I would want to go back and prove that I can do this. Now, are there certain jobs I wouldn't take? Of course. Like, I wouldn't take Cleveland. I probably wouldn't take Cincinnati if Marvin Lewis ever loses his job. A few other jobs I can think of that I would not take. Now, if one of those good jobs opens up, which they've had some good jobs open up over the last few years, why not take that shot and prove yourself? And be the best. Because now, anytime your name is mentioned, you're going to be the best with an asterisk. He's the best college coach of all time. He's the best non-NFL coach. It's never just going to be the best. Like with Bill Belichick, he's the best football coach of all time. There's no asterisk. There's no modifier. He's just the best, period. And as a competitor, that would eat at me. Like, I think I'm just as good as Bill Belichick. He just got lucky. He got Tom Brady in the 6th round. Why would I not want that? Why would I not think that I'm just as good as this guy? So if I was Nick Saban, or if I was one of Nick Saban's advisors, the smart thing may be to stay at Alabama, right? Because you already have it cushy there. You have it good. You're a legend. Even Alabama's tough, though. If you have 2 bad seasons, they'll probably get rid of you. But you're set for life at Alabama. Even if you stop coaching today, you can go to Alabama and eat for free for the rest of your life. But greatness doesn't come from being content. Greatness comes from going after what's next. And if I was Nick Saban, I would want to chase what's next. I want to chase that illustrious, if I'm saying that word correctly, I'm struggling today, that illustrious, there we go, title of being the best, period. Not the best with a modifier. Am I truly the best if you have to add something to it? Am I truly the best when you have to say the best college coach of all time? The best coach of young people? I don't want my podcast to just be the best amateur podcast. I want my podcast to be the best sports podcast, period. And that's what I'm chasing. I wonder if Nick Saban feels the same way about coaching. Does he really want to be the best, period? I would want to be. Anybody who's competitive at all would want to be. Not the best with a modifier. I want to be the best sports writer, period. Not the best sports writer who isn't at a big time company. Just want to be the best, period. And there's a part of me that thinks Nick Saban wants to be the best, period. He is a little older, but I think he has one more try in him to be the best. Now, could he ever be considered the best NFL coach of all time? Probably not. Probably doesn't have enough time to do that. But he can prove that he's one of the best, period, and not the best college coach of all time. Which, like I said, there's nothing to be ashamed about. That's excellent. The best college coach of all time is something that a lot of college coaches wish they could be. But when you're already that, your perspective is different. There's always more to chase. Now, part of being happy is not always chasing the next thing. And maybe he's already happy and he's good. But when you're that competitive as a Nick Saban, a Michael Jordan, a Tom Brady, those guys, are you truly happy if there's something in your resume that isn't quite successful? Why do you think John Gruden came back? John Gruden was good. He's over here commentating Monday Night Football, making over $7 million a year. He's good. He's happy. So we thought. But that competitive part came back. Because when you look at his coaching resume, he does have the Super Bowl, but he has a lot of mediocre seasons in there as well. After that Super Bowl, the Tampa Bay Bucks under Gruden were pretty much 8-8 the rest of his time there. That probably eats at Gruden. Because he's so competitive. He's like, okay, I got to go back and prove myself. Now, it's nice to come back to a $100 million check. Nick Saban probably won't get that if he goes to the NFL, but he'll get paid pretty handsomely. People like Gruden and Saban need to know, or need to try at least, to be the best. And it's got to be eating at him somehow. As much as he's dominating college, there's got to be a part of him that's like, ugh, I didn't get it done. Should I go back and get it done? I know I can, but they don't know I can. Or maybe it's, I don't know if I can, I have to prove it to myself. Can he truly do it? I don't know, it's an interesting thought, man. What do you guys think? Should Nick Saban go? If you were Nick Saban, would you go to the pros? Would you try to prove yourself on the highest level? I would. But honestly, I don't think he's leaving, though. I think he's happy, he's content. And there's nothing more important than being happy. But are you masking your happiness with college championships when you're like, man, maybe I could really be a great pro coach as well and win a Super Bowl? Join the people like a Jimmy Johnson of the world who did it both in college and the pros and be that guy. I don't know, man. I would definitely want to. But we're going to take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back recapping Wildcard Weekend, all right?
Today's show is brought to you by Vroom. With Vroom, you can shop thousands of late model, low mileage vehicles without having to haggle on price. They just set the price real low, 8% lower than the market on average. You can shop for anything from Teslas to Toyotas, Jeeps to Jaguars, and everything in between. Vroom only sells cars with clean titles that have never been in an accident. Every Vroom car is inspected multiple times for safety, mechanical, and aesthetic issues. Plus, once you found your dream car, we'll put it on a truck and deliver it anywhere in the continental United States for absolutely free. It's easy peasy. Not to mention that Vroom offers a free vehicle return for 7 days or 250 miles. See how you can save money on your next car purchase by going online to www.shopvroom.com/therealdeal. Again, that's www.shopvroom.com/therealdeal. That's www.shopvroom.com/THEREALDEAL.
Welcome back to The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Hopefully you're enjoying this show about real sports talk. And now it's time for us to recap Wildcard Weekend. This past weekend was the first weekend of the NFL playoffs. Lights got bright. Booties got tight. And let's talk about the Kansas City Chiefs. Speaking of booties getting tight. So Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs battled it out. Tennessee won 22-21. Marcus Mariota went 19 for 31, 205 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 pick. Also had 8 carries for 46 yards and had 1 reception for 6 yards and a touchdown. Derrick Henry had 23 carries for 156 yards and 1 touchdown. And Delaney Walker had 6 receptions for 74 yards. For Kansas City, Alex Smith went 24 for 33, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kareem Hunt had 11 carries for 42 yards, 3 receptions for only 5 yards. Tyreek Hill had 7 receptions for 87 yards. Travis Kelce had 4 receptions for 66 yards and 1 concussion. Went out in the second quarter. So Kansas City came out booming, dominating the game. They were up 21-3 at halftime. 21-3. And the game ended with Tennessee winning 22-21. How? How, Sway? How does that happen? There is no way in hell Kansas City should have lost this game. And I've been one of Marcus Mariota's biggest critics, right? And people have let me know about it. Like, there's no way you should be this hard on Marcus Mariota. He's young. You saw how he's a gamer. You saw that block he threw. So Marcus Mariota, towards the end of the game, when they're trying to run the clock out, threw a really good block, which freed Derrick Henry to run for a first down pretty much in the game. And everybody's going crazy about this block. Oh my God, did you see him? How much heart he has? He's a beast. When you start talking about blocks as the highlight for a quarterback, the quarterback is garbage. He's trash. He's landfill. All right? Marcus Mariota had a good game. But in that first half, the lights were bright and his booty was tight. There's no way you can tell me you thought Mariota was good looking at his stats this year. The man threw more interceptions than touchdowns. He had one of those seasons from like 1964. 13 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Come on, bro. It doesn't happen in the 21st century. Out here with them Joe Namath stats talking about he's good. He's great. No. He's alright. But he ain't real. He's cool. But he's not that guy. This game says a lot more about Kansas City than it does Tennessee. Tennessee did a good job taking advantage of Kansas City getting tight. In the second half, the defense tightened up and didn't allow Kansas City to get a point. They also did a great job running the ball down Kansas City's throat. That's one of the reasons I picked Tennessee to win this game, because I thought they would be able to run the ball. Derrick Henry did a great job in the second half. But more of the credit goes to Derrick Henry and Tennessee's defense than Marcus Mariota. He made a few plays. He also missed wide open people. Threw a horrible pick in the first half. So if we're going to talk about Marcus Mariota, let's keep it 100. Let's not act like he was out there balling the whole time. Like he's the next coming of some great quarterback. He's okay. Now, if he can go out here and beat New England this week and ball out, maybe I'll believe in him. But even New England has a weak defense. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But this game is definitely more about Kansas City. How many times is Andy Reid going to lose a lead in the playoffs and choke? Like, when I say Andy Reid swallows chicken bones, it's not a fat joke. It's a joke about him choking all the time. Alex Smith, swallowing chicken bones. Why did Kareem Hunt only touch the ball 14 times in the game? You have a 21-3 lead. Why are you not running the ball? I understand Tennessee has a good rushing defense, but Kareem Hunt had 42 yards on 11 carries. So it wasn't like he was out here getting shut down. He was having a decent game, and if you continue to run him, you wear down the defense, and maybe you win this game. Maybe you're able to get 3 more points. That's all you needed. 1 field goal in the second half, you win this game. Like I said, Tennessee does deserve credit, but there's no way you can look at that score and the way that game went down and not call it one of the biggest choke jobs we've ever seen. It's one of the biggest choke jobs we've ever seen. And the crazy part about it, Kansas City has been a part of many of these. They choked a few years ago against the Colts. And they were up by like 28. And you have to look at the coach. Andy Reid is really good. Good offensive mind. He's constantly in the playoffs. And he's won playoff games. We've seen him make it to Super Bowl with Philadelphia. Make it to NFC Championship games with Philadelphia. And something that Mr. Controversy, host of the 3-Point Conversion Sports Lounge, likes to always point out is that Andy Reid did this with no weapons in Philly. He had Donovan McNabb, Westbrook the running back, wide receivers like Freddie Mitchell, Todd Pinkston, who was the other guy? Thrasher, what was his name? It was making it to NFC Championship games. But with Kansas City and all these weapons, Travis Kelce, Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, he's not able to get it done. The defense played all right in this game. You can't blame Kansas City's defense. Even though you did give up 22 points, if you get 21 at half, you got to expect to end the game with like 30. At least give me 24. So you can't blame it on the defense. Like I said, Tennessee did a great job of wearing them down. And you got to expect them to score eventually. And they're getting extremely lucky plays. Marcus Mariota threw a touchdown to himself. So you knew the tide was going their direction. So for me, you got to look at Kansas City in this one. Biggest choke job maybe in history. Right? Because you're up 21-3 over a team that doesn't have a good offense. It's not like you're playing against the Saints or Pittsburgh or New England. You're up 21-3 on Tennessee. And this is one of the teams that in most years wouldn't make the playoffs because they just weren't that good. Nobody believed in this team. And you lose to them? When the lights get bright, booties get tight. For the next matchup, we had Atlanta beat the Rams 26-13. Matt Ryan he went 21 for 30, 218 yards and a touchdown. Devontae Freeman had 18 carries for 66 yards and a touchdown. Tevin Coleman, can we talk for a minute? Not him, but the running back had 14 carries for 40 yards. Julio Jones had 9 receptions for 94 yards and a touchdown. Jared Goff for the Rams went 24 for 45, 259 yards and 1 touchdown. Todd Gurley had 14 carries for 101 yards, but only had 4 receptions for 10 yards. And Robert Woods had 9 receptions for 142 yards. Now, this game was another game where lights got bright. It seems like the young Rams got tight. And I'm going to rename this episode Lights Get Bright, Booties Get Tight. That's going to be the name of this episode. So, Rams seem like they got a little tight too. Came out, like I said, just tight. Atlanta got that 13-0 lead. And they did exactly what I said last week. A lot of people don't put stock in time of possession anymore. It's passé. Like, it doesn't really matter if you control the clock because the other team can score fast, which is true. But if you're controlling the clock and the other team isn't scoring, controlling field position, You're not letting them get in a rhythm. It still can matter, and it mattered in this game. Atlanta controlled time possession by a big margin. And you saw the impact it had when the Rams weren't able to run the ball as much as they wanted to because they're down 13 to start the game. And now you put it all on Jared Goff, who's improved a lot this year, but you still need Todd Gurley to set him up. Todd Gurley's the MVP candidate, not Jared Goff. The Rams still look very good. They're going to be great the next few years, right? Great young coach, young roster. But this game showed the value of experience. Matt Ryan played well, very efficient. Julio Jones just knew what to do at what time. And they ran the ball well in this game. You have Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman getting at least 14 carries each. That's the strategy to win for Atlanta. One thing I saw that the Rams didn't do was get Todd Gurley involved in the passing game. That's where a lot of their yards came from during the regular season. You get Todd Gurley involved in screens, yards after catch, that's when you really start to dominate. They weren't able to do that, and because of that, it affected everything else. So, shout out to Atlanta, man. They played a perfect game. Look forward to see what they do against Philadelphia. For the next matchup, we had Jacksonville beat Buffalo 10-3. Wasn't the most exciting game, but it still was good. I enjoyed it. Defensive battle. Had Blake Bortles, he went 12 for 23, 87 yards, 1 touchdown. He actually had more rushing yards than passing yards. Wow. My man had 10 carries for 88 yards. Leonard Fournette had 21 carries for only 57 yards, and D.D. Westbrook had 5 receptions for 48 yards. And they won. That tells you their defense was balling. Buffalo, I don't know why they were so conservative. It's a playoff game. You win or you go home. You might as well go all out. You might as well try some new things. And it just seems like they were so scared of their own shadow in this game that it made it easy for Jacksonville to shut them down. Jacksonville already has a great defense. Don't make it easier for them to shut you down by being predictable. Seems like every play they're going to go run, pass. Run, pass. And LaShawn McCoy had a pretty good game. He had 19 carries for 75 yards. But you still have to relieve the pressure off of him by passing the ball downfield. And Tyrod Taylor went 17 for 37 with 134 yards. 1 pick. That's not going to bring any pressure off of LaShawn McCoy. That's just going to put more on him. Calvin Benjamin, he's supposed to be that guy. You trade for him. He's supposed to be a number 1 receiver type dude. 1 reception for 9 yards. That's not good enough. I've been a Tyrod Taylor believer, right? Been telling people Tyrod Taylor is good enough to be the quarterback on a successful team. He got a good running game, a good defense. He had a good running game. His defense held Jacksonville to 10 points. You got to get the job done, bro. Now, all the people who've doubted you have ammunition now for saying why you shouldn't get a big contract, why you shouldn't get signed. Hopefully somebody gives Tyrod a chance because he's definitely better than a lot of the quarterbacks in this league who are starting right now. And he's somebody who's going to take care of the ball for the most part. And he deserves a starting job and to get starting type money. But for Buffalo, I can see if they move on. If you have a better option, it's definitely not Peterman, who came right in the game and messed up 3 straight times. Fumble, grounding, interception. Like, come on, bro. Like, Peterman is garbage. Trash. I know he's a rookie. Hopefully he's better next year. He's still on the roster, but he's not the answer. He's definitely nowhere near as good as Tyrod Taylor. But Tyrod is very risk averse, right? He's not going to go after those yards the way a Drew Brees will, the way the elite quarterbacks do. He has to start that. Now, he could use some help at receiver. That would definitely help out. But he has to be more aggressive. I understand Jacksonville's a great defense. They have great cornerbacks, both of them Pro Bowlers. But you have to be aggressive. You threw 1 pick, and it wasn't even on an aggressive play. Like, be aggressive. Last game of the year. You win or you go home. Go all out. Throw 3 picks. Hey, you tried. Great defense. They won. Okay, they were the better man that day. But don't go out feeling like you didn't. I ain't gonna say didn't try. You definitely tried, but like you didn't just go all out. Just grit your teeth and get it. This wasn't the performance that I was looking from Tyrod, man. When Blake Bortles only throws 87 yards, you gotta beat them, man. You gotta beat a team when the quarterback doesn't throw for 100 yards in a game. Like I said, great defensive battle. But Jacksonville's defense is great as it is. Shouldn't shut you down to 3 points. If Jacksonville only scores 10, you should be able to win that game. And that comes down to play calling and Tyrod. But Jacksonville, great defense. And they should give Pittsburgh a run for their money in this next round. For the next matchup, who that said they're going to beat them Saints? As the New Orleans Saints defeated the Carolina Panthers 31-26, Drew Brees went 23 for 33, 376 yards, 2 TDs, 1 interception. Michael Thomas had 8 receptions for 131 yards. Ted Ginn, 4 receptions for 115 yards and a touchdown. Both running backs, Kamara and Ingram, struggled as Carolina made sure they put the game in Drew Brees' hands. Cam Newton had a pretty good game, 24 for 40, 349 yards, 2 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey went with 6 receptions for 101 yards, 1 touchdown. Greg Olsen had 8 receptions for 107 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, this game just showed us how great Drew Brees is. Because this year has been a year where we can kind of forget about Drew Brees. You have Kamara and Ingram both getting over 1,500 yards from scrimmage. You had Michael Thomas getting over 1,200 yards receiving. And Drew Brees having some of his lowest numbers since he's gotten to New Orleans. But he still had the record for completion percentage this year. In a year where it's considered a low year for him, he broke the record for completion percentage. That's crazy, right? And in this game, Carolina's coming in playing this team for the 3rd time. After losing the first 2, you know they're going to have a game plan. And their game plan worked well against the run. And Drew Brees, I don't know what Carolina was trying to do in that aspect, or could they do anything else? I feel like their cornerbacks aren't that good. So they were like, okay, we have a good defensive line, good linebackers. We can stop the run if we put our minds to it. Let's do that, take that away, make them one-dimensional. But if that one dimension is Drew Brees, do you really want to do that? Is that really how you want to go out on your sword? Going against Drew Brees? Didn't work. Now, New Orleans almost lost this game because they went for it on 4th and 2 on Carolina's 47. Now, I get it. You want to be aggressive. But how aggressive do you want to be? Now, if you make that 4th and 2, you're a hero. You won the game. You run the clock out. But by missing that 4th and 2, we got lucky that it was picked off because now that made Carolina go a little further back. If you miss that 4th and 2 without the interception and Carolina only has to go 53 yards to get a touchdown and they win the game, how are we looking at Sean Payton right now? At that moment, you punt the ball. You have a great punter in Morstead. Let Morstead punt the ball. You can pin them inside their own 10, maybe their own 5-yard line. Make them go 90-plus yards to get that touchdown. You can be aggressive and blitz them down there because you're not worried about any wide receivers really beating you deep. Be aggressive, blitz them, and if you pin them down there, it makes it even harder for them to really open up their offense because they have to get out their own shadow of the end zone. There were so many positives to punting the ball against the risk of going for it on 4th and 2. Running game's not working. If your running game's working at that time, by all means, get it 2 yards because you know you can get it. But your running game's not working. And throwing a pass in the situation doesn't really help. Stops the clock. If you get it go incomplete. But in this case, throw the interception, you get lucky. They catches the ball. So you got to give a big hand to the Saints defense for shutting them down at the end there. And for Carolina, good year. Nothing to hang your head about. Half your losses came to one team. It's crazy. But their defensive secondary has to get better because they couldn't stop a nosebleed. Drew Brees did a great job of carving them up, but wide receivers are open. It didn't matter if it was man, zone, whatever they played. Michael Thomas, Ted Ginn were getting open. Brandon Coleman getting open. Kamara getting open. They couldn't stop anything. When you have a great linebacker like Luke Kuechly, he only could do so much. He's not going to be able to stick your wide receivers. Not going to be able to stop great momentum that they had. So in that case, you got to upgrade the secondary. Got to get wide receivers. Greg Olsen can't be your best wide receiver. He's really good. He's really, really good. But you need a wide receiver who's a real threat. What deep threat do you have? Should Christian McCaffrey be your slot? Should you just move him to slot and get another running back who can run between the tackles better than him? Funchess seems like he can be good, but he's always hurt. So we tend to be hard on Cam, and sometimes he deserves it because it seems like at times he can't hit the side of a barn. But in this game, he had several throws that were right on target, and wide receivers were dropping them. And that's just demoralizing, man. Early in the game, they couldn't get in the end zone. Part of it was the Saints defense doing a great job in the red zone. But another part of it was wide receivers just not catching the ball. The first drive they had where the kicker shanked it, wide receiver has a perfect pass in his hands. Cam just placed it there on him. Dropped it. Just can't have that. Gotta get Cam some help. Cam can't be running like that. You gotta get some running backs who can really do it. Upgrade the offensive line. Maybe you should really believe that tackles matter. What is that theory about tackles not mattering? You need your inside to be good and your outside. I don't get that theory of we're going to spend less money on the tackles. Cam Jordan getting to Cam Newton whenever he wanted to because he literally called the dude a speed bump that was trying to block him. So with all the success they had, they have a lot of holes as well. So we look forward to Carolina doing what they do in the offseason and see if they can improve. They've already made some moves coaching-wise, so we'll see. But now let's move on to preview the divisional round. First game, we have Atlanta at Philly. Very interesting game. At Atlanta, who looks great coming off that win against the Rams. You got Philly, who hasn't looked good since Wentz went down pretty much. And Atlanta's favored. The number 6 seed is favored over the number 1 seed. I don't know if that's ever happened in history. So the keys for Atlanta. Have to be able to pass the ball. Philadelphia has a great run defense, number 1 run defense in the NFL. So Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman may not get off like he used to. Matt Ryan, if they become one-dimensional, has to do what Drew Brees was able to do against Carolina. Can he do that, though? Philly hasn't had the best pass defense lately. Even Eli Manning got over 400 yards against them a few weeks ago. So I would go into this game knowing we're going to try to run the ball. We don't want to be one-dimensional. When it comes down to it, we need Matt Ryan to be MVP Matt Ryan. Was that just a one-year thing for Matt Ryan? When the lights get bright, will his booty get tight? We'll see. We'll see. Can he really do it? But Philadelphia, they had to run the ball. Run the ball. Keep the ball out of Atlanta's hands. Nick Foles, just don't make mistakes. And that's what you're good at. The season where you started for Philadelphia, they made the playoffs, you only threw 2 interceptions. We know that you can take care of the ball when you're at your best. Will the lights get bright? Will his booty get tight? Something else that Philadelphia has to do is force turnovers. They're 4th in turnover differential during the year. Got to continue that. get short fields for Nick Foles. If he has to drive the length of the field all day, not going to get that many points. Atlanta's defense is out there running around looking mean right now. You don't want Nick Foles going the length of the field all game against them. Gotta get turnovers. If you force Matt Ryan to throw all game, maybe you can shake him up. He'll throw a few picks here and there. Then you're in business. So with that being said, who do I have winning the game? Who is it who will win this game? Going with Atlanta. Going with Atlanta to win this one, 24-17. I don't believe in Nick Foles enough to be able to score with Atlanta. Atlanta won't be able to just go up and down the field on Philadelphia because Philadelphia has a really good defense, especially against the run. But I think Matt Ryan does enough in this game to beat Nick Foles, which won't have to be much. So Atlanta will win 24-17. Mark it down. For the next matchup, we have Tennessee at New England. Tennessee is a team that hasn't beat New England since 2002. Maybe they're due. New England is a team when the lights get bright, their booties do not get tight. They've all been here before. They know what it is. Nothing about this game is going to scare them, right? Now, conventional wisdom says that Tennessee has to run the ball. You got Derrick Henry, who's damn near bigger than everybody on New England's defense. Run the ball, pound the rock, time possession, keep it away from Tom Brady. Good strategy. But then when you look at the fact that New England's defense is ranked 30th against the pass, maybe you should go a different route. Maybe if you're Tennessee, it's time for Marcus Mariota to show that he's the star that everybody thinks he is. Are you really about that life, Marcus? When the lights get bright, will your booty get tight? If not, show that you can do it against the 30th ranked defense in New England. Now, I'm not saying you have to go shot for shot with Tom Brady. You do have to try to run the ball to keep the ball in his hands, but we need you to make plays, Marcus. Can you do it? You don't have the best receivers. They did have a case of the drops against Kansas City. I will give you that. But in this game, they should get open. New England has the 30th ranked pass defense. So you start off running the ball, but then you get some play action in there. Not just Delaney Walker, but everybody gets involved. Spread the ball a little bit. Don't be so predictable. Not run, pass. Because that's been Tennessee all year. Run, pass. Derrick Henry should pound that rock a lot, but pass the ball. Test that 30th ranked pass defense. And maybe you win the game. Shock the world. New England just got to do what New England does. They'll run the rock with Deion Lewis, even though Tennessee does have a good run defense. If they do, you got Tom Brady. You can handle being one-dimensional when you have somebody like a Tom Brady there. And you have Gronk. That's the key for Tennessee. Stop Gronk. Double team Gronk and make all the other wide receivers beat you one-on-one. I wouldn't be scared of any other wide receiver on their team one-on-one. Double team Gronk. Stop everybody else. And make sure they can't run the rock down your throat. It's New England. Definitely sounds easier than it is. But that's the keys. You have to beat them in that fashion. My prediction for this game, New England, closer than the experts think, though. New England wins this game 28-21, close nail biter. You heard that here first. For the next matchup, first one on Sunday, you got Jacksonville going to Pittsburgh. Now, Jacksonville beat the mess out of Pittsburgh earlier this year on October 8th, won the game 30-9. Ben Roethlisberger had probably the worst game of his career, threw 5 interceptions against that daunted Jacksonville defense. So in this game, we're going to take the ball out of Ben's hands. Antonio Brown is coming back. They say he's healthy. He's good to go. But even with him being healthy, Jacksonville might find a way to take him away. This game should be all about Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell should get 35 touches, 25 runs, maybe 10 catches. Le'Veon Bell should dominate. he's somebody, no matter how good your defense is, you can't stop Le'Veon Bell. Because he can do it in so many different ways. You stop the run, he can catch the ball. Or if you stop the pass, he can run the ball. Le'Veon Bell should get 35 touches in this game. Ben Roethlisberger should only throw the ball 25 times, really, if they want to win this game. Keep the ball, and you want to, I wouldn't say keep it low scoring because that would help Jacksonville out, but you're not going to score a bunch against Jacksonville. This game is very interesting because with Jacksonville, they're not going to be able to win this game 10-3. Right? You're not going to shut down Pittsburgh the way you did earlier this year. They're going to adjust. It's playoff time. They're going to play better. So, you need Blake to throw for more than 200 yards in this game. You need Fournette to show up. Fournette hasn't been really Fournette since what? Week 8, week 9? Dominating the way he came in. Blake can't run for more yards than he passed for us in this game. That can't happen. You can't have him run for 80 yards and pass for 78. It's not going to work. You need Blake to show up. And Pittsburgh's defense isn't the same without Shazier. So he should be able to throw the ball a little bit. They should be able to run the ball a little bit. And because of that, I'm picking the Jacksonville Jaguars for the upset. Heard it here first. On the real deal, Jacksonville will upset Pittsburgh 20-17. They will be able to score 20 points in this game because Pittsburgh's defense isn't what it was earlier in the year. Jacksonville's defense seems to be getting better and better. Pittsburgh will get upset. New England versus Jacksonville AFC Championship. For the next matchup, my beloved New Orleans Saints. Now, before I talk about this matchup, let me address the Saints, what they did after the Panthers game. They were celebrating in the locker room. Everybody's dancing, having a good time. Mark Ingram's on Instagram Live. And a lot of people responded like, act like you've been there before. Why are you doing all this just for a wild card win? Man, shut up. Let them have a good time. Let them enjoy the moment. When baseball teams celebrate after everything, literally everything. Oh, the second baseman just tied his own shoes. Champagne, champagne. But football players can't do it. We just beat a really good team 3 times in the same season. That's tough to do. Let them celebrate that moment. Let Sean Payton come in there with no rhythm and dance. Drew Brees get crunk. Let them have a good time. And then the next day they move on to Minnesota. There's no shame in celebrating for one day. It's a great accomplishment. You made it to the Divisional Round. You're one of the best 8 teams in the NFL. It's tough to do. Let them celebrate. Let them have a good time. Don't be haters. All right? Now, moving on to this game against Minnesota. The Saints need big plays. They need Ted Ginn to be able to stretch the defense out. Because Minnesota has such a good defense. It's going to be tough to run the ball. So you need to have those safeties pushed out. Ted Ginn, Michael Thomas, Willie Snead, Brandon Coleman. Those guys have to show up big. Make this defense worry about the pass going downfield. Not just precision, but big plays. And then that opens up the running lanes for Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. Without that, Minnesota can lock you down. Can really just boggle you up. Minnesota's offense isn't going to blow you away, right? So if New Orleans can keep this close, they can win this game. Now, their running game is going to be hurt a little bit with the injury to Andres Pete, the offensive lineman. Played left guard most of the year, some left tackle, some right guard. He's been moved all around because the offensive line suffered injuries all year. And they've still been a really good unit. So, they have to find a way to run the ball without Pete. It's going to be tough. But that passing game will take some of that pressure off of all the people in the box. You can't put 8 in the box when you got Ted Ginn going down that field. If you can do that, then you can pound that rock. For Minnesota, same thing. They have to get big plays. They have to get Thielen going, Diggs going, so Latavius Murray can pound that rock. Saints defense, if they have a weakness, is more against the run than the pass. And if Murray's going, then you have that play action going, you get downfield. Case Keenum. I believe in this game, the lights will get bright and that booty will get tight. Got the Saints winning this game. Feel a little deja vu coming on. Last time the Saints played Minnesota in the playoffs, it was my 20th birthday. January 24th, 2010. So you know how old I am now if you do the math. Minnesota had Brett Favre. And they were coming into the Superdome. NFC Championship game. Prime Adrian Peterson. I ain't gonna lie, as a Saints fan, I was a little scared. But Brett Favre gave me the best birthday gift ever when he went classic Brett Favre and tried to make a pass he didn't need to make. Tracy Porter, classic pick. Saints go to overtime, kick the field goal and win. See, this game will be just as close. Just as close. Saints will win 20-16. Not going to be a barn burner. Saints won't be able to do what they did against Carolina and score all those points and throw all those yards. But they will be able to do just enough to win this game 20-16. We'll have Saints hosting Atlanta in an AFC Championship game. Heard it here first. So just to recap my picks. Game 1, I got Atlanta beating Philly. Game 2, New England beating Tennessee. Game 3, Jacksonville with the upset. Game 4, Saints with the upset. So now let's do a little sports trivia. Now for people who have been listening to my podcast for a long time now, you know I always come with that good sports trivia. And this sports trivia is about the 4 teams who won on Wildcard Weekend. Alright? So for the first question, Warren Moon has 5 of the top 6 passing seasons in Houston Oilers / Tennessee Titan history. Who has the other season in the top 6? Is it Marcus Mariota, Steve McNair, Matt Hasselbeck, or Ken Stabler? Let me give it to you one more time. Warren Moon has 5 of the top 6 passing seasons in Houston Oilers / Tennessee Titan history. Who has the other season in the top 6? Is it Marcus Mariota, Steve McNair, Matt Hasselbeck, or Ken Stabler? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. All right, you had your time to think about it. Who you got? Warren Moon has 5 of the top 6 passing seasons in Houston Oilers / Tennessee Titan history. Who has the other season in the top 6? Marcus Mariota, Steve McNair, Matt Hasselbeck, or Ken Stabler? The answer is Matt Hasselbeck. Yes, in 2011, Matt Hasselbeck threw for 3,571 yards, completed 61.6% of his passes, had 18 touchdowns and 14 interceptions. So shout out to Matt Hasselbeck. Question number 2. Matt Ryan is the all-time leading passer in Falcons history. Who is second all-time in passing yards for the Atlanta Falcons? Give it to you one more time. Matt Ryan is the all-time leading passer in Falcons history. Who is second all-time in Falcons history? Is it Jeff George, Steve Bartkowski, Chris Chandler, or Michael Vick? Again, Matt Ryan is the all-time leading passer in Falcons history. Who is second all-time in Falcons history in passing yards? Is it Jeff George, Steve Bartkowski, Chris Chandler, or Michael Vick? I'm going to give you a few seconds to think about it. Jeopardy, please don't sue me. I do not own the rights to this music, okay? Just using it, borrowing it real quick. I don't have anything to give. Please don't sue me. But for the question, Matt Ryan is the all-time leading passer in Falcons history. Who is second all-time in passing yards? For the Atlanta Falcons, is it Jeff George, Steve Bartkowski, Chris Chandler, or Michael Vick? The correct answer is Steve Bartkowski. Yes, from 1975 to 1985, Steve Bartkowski threw for 23,470 yards on 56% completion rate, 154 touchdowns, and 141 interceptions. Shout out to Steve Bartkowski. For the next question, who holds the record for receiving yards in a season for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Who holds the record for receiving yards in a season for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Is it Keenan McCardell, Allen Robinson, Cecil Shorts, or Jimmy Smith? One more time, who holds the record for receiving yards in a season for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Is it Keenan McCardell, Allen Robinson, Cecil Shorts, or Jimmy Smith? Let me give you just a few seconds to think about that with the Jeopardy music. I'll give you the question one more time. Who holds the record for receiving yards in a season for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Is it Keenan McCardell, Allen Robinson, Cecil Shorts, or Jimmy Smith? The correct answer is Jimmy Smith. Yes, Jimmy Smith in 1999 had 1,636 yards receiving on 116 catches. Shout out to Jimmy Smith, man. For question number 4 about New Orleans Saints, we won this past weekend. Who that? Who holds the record for rushing yards in a season for the New Orleans Saints? Who holds the record for rushing yards in a season for the New Orleans Saints? Is it George Rogers, Ricky Williams, Deuce McAllister, or Mark Ingram? I'll give it to you one more time. Who holds the record for rushing yards in a season for the New Orleans Saints? George Rogers, Ricky Williams, Deuce McAllister, or Mark Ingram? Here's a few seconds to think about it. Who holds the record for rushing yards in a season for the New Orleans Saints? Is it George Rogers, Ricky Williams, Deuce McAllister, or Mark Ingram? The correct answer is George Rogers. Yes. In 1981, George Rogers ran for 1,674 yards, 13 touchdowns on 4.4 yards per carry. But he also had 13 fumbles that year. Come on, George. Hold on to the ball. Hold on to the ball, George. So now let's recap the questions real quick for the people. For question number 1, as I get back my paper here, Warren Moon has 5 of the top 6 passing seasons in Houston Oilers/Tennessee Titan history. Who has the other season in the top 6? The answer is Matt Hasselbeck, who had 3,571 yards in the 2011 season. Question number 2, Matt Ryan is the all-time leading passer in Falcons history. Who is second all-time? It's Steve Bartkowski, who had 23,470 yards during his time with the Falcons. Question number 3, who holds the record for receiving yards in a season for the Jacksonville Jaguars? The answer is Jimmy Smith. In 1999, threw for he caught the ball for 1,636 yards on 116 receptions. And question number 4, who holds the record for rushing yards in a season for the New Orleans Saints? The answer is George Rogers, who did it in 1981 with 1,674 yards. So, hope you guys enjoyed the sports trivia. Now it's time for Forgotten Players. Today, just one forgotten player. Now, Forgotten Players is where we pay homage to players who may have been good but not great, great but not recognized, or players who you may have just forgotten about who we want to remind you of. And the forgotten player today is Ruben Mays. Now, you may have forgotten about Ruben Mays. He had a pretty short career. But let me remind you. Ruben Mays was born in North Battlefield, Canada. He went to comprehensive secondary school in Canada, where he was an outstanding running back. From there, he went to Washington State, where his junior year, he ran for 1,637 yards on 6.3 yards per carry. In his junior year, Then his senior year, he ran for 1,236 yards on 5.4 yards per carry. This led to him being the 57th overall pick in the third round for the New Orleans Saints in the 1986 draft. He came out booming, y'all. Rookie year, he had 1,353 yards, 8 touchdowns on 4.7 yards per carry. Then his second year, he had a little bit over 900 yards and made a Pro Bowl. So 2-time Pro Bowler out the gate. Then injuries set in. He only played 6 NFL seasons with just a myriad plethora of injuries. But he played 4 seasons for the Saints and 2 for the Seahawks. But only had those 2 good seasons with all the injuries. So shout out to Ruben Mays as my forgotten player today. And I want to thank everybody who hung out with me for this past hour, man. Really appreciate the support. Tell your friends about the show. We'll have more great guests coming forward. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat at The Real Deal WDA. That's The Real Deal, W as in whiskey, D as in Delta, A as in apple. This has been Real Sports Talk for the Real Sports Fan. And until next time, go real or go home.